Welcome to the program, Global Weekly News, serial number 88. First, let us go to Sudan of Africa. RSF, Rapid Support Forces, was formed in 2013 by coordinating the militias within the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF. 3 lakh internally displaced persons near capital of Sudan depend on UN World Food Programme food aid for survival. Sudan's population is 2.5 crores. Poverty and hunger are widely prevailing in Sudan. 40% of people do not have food security. More than 38 lakh children are facing malnutrition. Over a dozen children are dying of hunger daily in the internally displaced persons camp near the capital. Doctors Without Borders, it's a forum. That forum has estimated that a quarter of the children in this camp are acutely malnourished, almost a third of whom will die within weeks in the absence of urgent medical intervention. 2 lakh children are projected to suffer from life-threatening hunger this year. Life-threatening hunger this year in 5 states. Acting World Health Organization representative to Sudan warned. Food rations stopped after the ongoing internal war, which broke out in April 2023 between the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces. The marginal work and limited agriculture the internally displaced persons used to undertake to earn some income and supplement their nutrition has also been rendered impossible after the start of the internal war. The internally displaced persons are targeted by both the groups, so therefore they could not come out of the camps. Sudan's warehouses have been looted, mostly by the Rapid Support Forces and the militias it backs. All IDP camps, internally displaced persons camps, are infested with malaria, fevers and diarrhea. Cholera may also be inching toward the semi-desert region in western Sudan, with at least 292 associated deaths. There are more than 10,700 suspected cases of cholera in at least 11 of Sudan's 18 states. 2/3 of people do not have access to medical care. Well, these are all the conditions in Sudan. Next we go to Niger. ECOWAS lifts sanctions on Niger. Another African country, Niger. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has lifted the majority of economic and border-related sanctions imposed on Niger. Following an extraordinary summit held in the Nigerian capital on 24th February, the regional trade bloc withdrew the measures on purely humanitarian grounds. The decision came around 3 weeks after Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali announced the decision to withdraw from the bloc, ECOWAS, stating that ECOWAS had become a threat to its members under the influence of French power. Mali and Burkina Faso had been subjected to similar sanctions from the bloc after successive military uprisings since 2020, which had received popular support from the people. On 26th July 2023, military leaders in Niger ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. ECOWAS closed borders with Nigeria and Benin, which were the main transit routes for imports of food, medicine and other essentials to Niger. These measures led to massive food price hikes and the medicine shortages. Next we are going to Latin America to see the Conference on the Integration of Latin American and Caribbean Peoples. Apart from South American countries, if we include Central America and countries like Mexico, it is called as Latin America, based on the languages here, mostly based on Latin of Italy. A conference on the integration of Latin American and Caribbean peoples. On February 22 to 24, 4,000 people from more than 20 countries gathered in Ikagu, that is a place, Ikagu, for the conference of the integration of Latin American and Caribbean peoples. In Latin America and the Caribbean region, there are 33 countries which were under Spain, Portuguese and French imperialism in mid-19th century. On February 23, the organizations participating in the conference approved a letter to the people for the integration of Latin America and the Caribbean. The letter contains a summary of the events discussed and notes for advancing the integration of the people of the region. The letter states that the unity of our people is fundamental to stopping an extreme right that wants to destroy our national and popular sovereignty to place our countries at the service of international finance capital and its transnational companies, MNCs. The letter also expressed solidarity with the revolutions in Cuba and Venezuela, in addition to denouncing the colonial domination over Haiti and the genocide promoted by the state of Israel over the Palestinian people. The international community must respond resoundingly to the people's call for an immediate ceasefire and the creation of a sovereign and free Palestine state, the letter stated. Furthermore, the letter supported President Lula's statements about the Israeli attacks. If Lula is persona non grata, that means if Lula is unwelcome, the Latin American people are also unwelcome for Israel, the letter highlighted. Environmental issues were also central focus of the letter. We have called and will meet again with all our organizations and people to hold a great people's summit in the context of Conference of the Parties, COP30, next year in Brazil. In the end, the letter indicated dates for unified struggles across the continent, March 2nd and 8th, April 17, May 1st, June 5th June and 16th October. Comrades, Julian Assange is a renowned media man. Julian Assange is the founder of WikiLeaks, a media in Australia. He exposed the war crimes of US imperialism in its war on Iraq and Afghanistan through classified documents. Assange has remained imprisoned without charges since April 2019 in Belmarsh prison of London at the biggest of the extradition request by the US. If extradited, that is sent to US from England, if extradited, the Assange will stand trial in the United States and face 17 charges under the notorious Espionage Act that could lend him a 175-year prison sentence. The extradition hearing took place on February 2021. The two High Court judges indicated that they needed additional time to make a decision. No journalist was allowed in the court. Free press and whistleblowing, that is, exposing government crimes, are against democracy, the government pleader argued in the court. Outside London's High Court of Justice, a large crowd gathered in support of Assange, calling for his release and protesting against his extradition to US. Comrade, we are going to see the great sacrifice by US soldier, self-immolation of US soldier. Aaron Bushnell became the first active duty US soldier to use self-immolation to protest the actions of the military he was part of. I am about to engage in an extreme act of protest, he said in a self-recorded live stream outside of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. on 25th February. But compared to what people have been experiencing in Palestine at the hands of their colonizers, it is not extreme at all. He then lit himself on fire. He later succumbed to his injuries in a hospital. At the start of Bushnell's live stream, his first words after introducing himself as an active duty soldier are, "I will no longer be complicit in genocide." Bushnell's last words, "Free Palestine," appeared as trending topics on X, that is Twitter, the former Twitter, and X in countries across the world. Over the past 4 months, there are Too often, massive demonstrations over the past 4 months, there have been often massive demonstrations in solidarity with the Palestinians before the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. and many cities all over the United States. They demanded immediate ceasefire and end to U.S. weapons aid to Israel. Since 7th October 2023, about 30,000 Palestinians were killed and 70,000 were injured. Almost the total 22 lakh population of Gaza are displaced now. Israel is even attacking schools, hospitals and refugee camps. Over 10 lakh people have taken refuge at Rafah, a city near Egyptian border. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a barbaric manner that Israel will launch attacks on Rafah. Israel is stopping international aid reaching the Palestinians. Thrice, U.S. vetoed resolutions calling for ceasefire. Hundreds of crores of dollars worth of U.S. arms and weapons are given to Israel. Comrades, next we go to Argentina, a South American country. The rightist Javier Milei is the president of Argentina, a South American country. Milei government shuts down Institute Against Discrimination, Xenophobia and Racism. This decision was taken on 22nd February. Presidential spokesman announced that the decision has been taken to proceed with the dismantling of the institutes that serve absolutely no purpose. Created in 1995 by the Law on Discriminatory Acts, the institute is a decentralized government body linked to the Argentine Ministry of Justice and Human Rights and aims to draw up national policies to combat all forms of discrimination, xenophobia and racism. The agency, with offices throughout the country and 400 employees, receives an average of 2,500 complaints of discrimination a year, according to its latest report. The majority came from the labor or education sector and are based on physical disability, sexual orientation or gender. In November 2023, the institute launched a new communication channel for complaints in WhatsApp, which allowed people to request advice on situations of discrimination. Since taking office on 10th December, the ultra-liberal president has fired thousands of state employees and not renewed another 10,000 contracts, as well as paralyzing federally funded public works across the country with the aim of cutting public spending. Next, we are going to see Joe Biden's immigration policy. US President Joe Biden continues to deviate from his own campaign promises of a more humane immigration policy. Biden is reportedly weighing executive action on immigration that could prevent those crossing the US border unlawfully from claiming asylum in US. If enacted, the action would be similar to what former President Donald Trump attempted to target asylum seekers in 2018, which was blocked then by the federal courts and denounced by Democrats at that time. This action would put a stop to the right of migrants to request asylum once on US soil. A 9,500 crore US dollars bill that would provide military aid to the three countries, Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan, was passed in the Senate upper house, where the Democrats are a majority, but has been stalled in the House of Representatives, which has not approved new funding to Ukraine since the Republicans took control of the House of Representatives in January 2023. Far-right Republicans are deeply opposed to additional Ukraine aid, wanting to instead divert that money to further militarization of the US-Mexico border. Comrade, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov recent visit to Latin America, let us see that now, Sergei Lavrov, Russia's foreign minister, visited Cuba, Venezuela and Brazil during this week-long visit in the region, where he met with authorities to discuss economic cooperation and strategies to overcome common challenges. On 19th February, Lavrov visited Havana, the capital of Cuba. He discussed various topics with Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel and Cuba's foreign minister, including the decades-long blockade on Cuba imposed by US and strategies to boost economic cooperation, commerce and investment between Cuba and Russia. On 20th February, Lavrov met with the foreign minister of Venezuela in Caracas. He also met with the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. They discussed solidarity and cooperation in areas like science, technology, economy and energy. Sergei Lavrov took part in G20 foreign ministers meeting in Brazil. In addition to topics of strengthening economic cooperation and multilateral institutions, participants in the G20 meeting discussed Israel's genocide on the Palestinian people in Gaza. Brazilian President Lula da Silva has on multiple occasions called for the expansion of the UN Security Council and abolishing the veto power of the permanent members of the Security Council. During Lavrov's travels, Washington announced the intent to further its sanctions regime on Russia, which for the first time target companies in the People's Republic of China, Turkey and Democratic People's Republic of Korea on the suspicion that these companies have aided in Russia's provision of technology and military goods deemed forbidden by the European Union and the United States. Lastly, comrades, we are going to see the pathetic conditions of the children of Gaza. In northern Gaza or Palestine, 15% of children under 2 years of age are severely malnourished. 3% of children are losing their weight. If ceasefire does not take place, the whole of Gaza will face famine by the end of May, according to World Food Programme. Due to malnutrition, many communicable diseases spread. People do not get protected drinking water. Even the mothers eat less. Breastfeeding mothers are not able to take nutritious food. World Food Programme has stopped sending aid and relief materials to northern Gaza since the supply routes are not safe. Humanitarian aid reaching people in southern Gaza, that is not adequate, comrades. Thank you, comrades. Please mark the, like, comment and share amongst your friends. Thank you. See you next week. Assalam.